What's the one thing that you have somewhere in like the back of your closet that you know you need to get rid of, but you have no idea what to do with it?
I think in the back of my closet, well, I have tons and tons of like old electronics, and there are electronic e-waste. I don't have a car, so I don't really have a way to take things like broken computer monitors, broken TVs. You know, I can't haul a 65-inch TV down the street walking because I don't have a car, and there's not really a convenient way to get those things collected.
What is like the one thing that you have that's been sitting in like the back of your closet that you're like, I know I gotta get rid of this, but I don't know where to take it or what to do with it?
Like definitely like super old electronics. Like I don't know what to do with that. I'm like, I don't really want to just stick it in our small trash bin. And I'm like, there's no way I could sell this on Facebook Marketplace. I'm like, it just sits there and collects dust. It's like torn or like blown up speakers and stuff like that.
Yeah, wires and stuff. Because clothes you could like typically donate and everything, so.
What is the thing that you have in the back of your closet that you're like, I need to get rid of it, but I have no idea what to do with it?
A lot of clothes. A lot of clothes that we need to donate and get rid of. That always just end up in like a garbage bin and sit in our trunk for like months and months and months and months to get donated. But it takes a while for them to get there.
I donated a bunch of clothes recently last July, but we need to do it again.
Yeah, I feel like clothes pile up very quickly.
Cool.
Like old electronics.
Yeah.
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 I would also say the like orange pill bottles, like after your prescription's done. I have so many of those, and I'm like, I don't even know what to do with these or where to put them.
Yeah.
Because no one's ever told me what to do with them once they're empty.
Like an old CRT TV for sure, because that seems like something that I can't just toss out. It's a little too heavy. There's probably some like toxic something somewhere in there, so that is for sure one of those. And I just moved, so it's currently sitting in my living room, useless, and I don't know where to go.
A stuffed animal that I got from England when I was in high school, so like years and years and years ago, that I was just like, I'm gonna get this because it's in England, and now it's been sitting in my closet, and I'm like, I want to get rid of it because I got it in England, but also what am I ever gonna do with this little stuffed animal? Nothing. So
I have so many like planters, like ceramic pots for planters that I have like amassed over the years, thinking that I will ever be able to take care of a plant, and I can't. Like they all just die, so I just have like literally like how some people have like drawers full of junk. I have like empty planters full of junk.
Ooh, probably like old t-shirts, jeans, stuff like that.
Yeah, because you're like, oh, I have such good memories, but.
Or it's, of when these fit me.
Even for folks who aren't familiar with the circular economy or who don't really even consider themselves to be green, those things that they have stashed in the back of their closet is a sign that they want to do better. They just don't know how. Welcome to the Circle Up podcast, where we tell the stories of the circular economy in Philadelphia.
Well, so let's circle up. I'm Candice Lawton, the Executive Director of Circular Philadelphia.
And I'm Sam Wittchen, one of the co-founders of Circular Philadelphia.
The Circle Up podcast continues on its journey around the continuous loop of the circular economy. We've talked about recycling, both blue bin recycling and specialty recycling that's available in Philadelphia for everything that can't go into your curbside bin, back in our very first episode.
Yep, and we also dug in, pun intended, to the recycling of food and organic waste, composting, where we do exactly what Mother Nature does and transforms food scraps, grass clippings, and leaves back into nutrients for soil and plants.
And other ways we can make our food system less wasteful and more circular, from how we cultivate, distribute, and enjoy food across grocers, restaurants, and what happens after.
That's right. And now in this episode, we'll talk about another critical piece of enabling the highest and longest use of goods, resale.
Resale is one of the most tangible and accessible ways people can participate in the circular economy. Whether it's vintage furniture, art supplies, or pre-loved clothing, extending the life of products keeps materials in use and out of the landfill.
And it's not just about buying and selling stuff. It's about community, creativity, and rethinking value. Today we'll hear from organizations who are proving that resale can be both sustainable and stylish while strengthening our local economy.
So grab your reusable coffee cup and get ready to circle up, because this is where old things find new life.
Okay, can we do a little
walkthrough?
Yep. So this gives you an idea of the types of materials that we save. This is the art zone, which is everything from pictures and framing and supplies, photography. It's the range is endless. Paints, inks. My name is Karen Jared, and I'm the executive director here at the Resource Exchange. The Resource Exchange is a creative reuse center, and what that essentially means is that we save all manner of materials for reuse from the community, from local businesses, anything from glitter to 2x4s. It's kind of a wide range of materials, and then we try to get that back out into the community for reuse. Pencils, cork. It really changes all the time. You never really know what's going to come through our door, but it's once you take a look around and see just the sheer volume of it, it is amazing to keep in mind that it's all donated, that we don't buy anything, and that's this all there's so much material to source and use from here that it just comes from folks' studios when they don't need them anymore or don't use them all. So it's constantly changing supply of stuff to make stuff with. Back in 2008, I wrote the Film Production Sets Guide, which was a sustainability in shooting film in this region. Short-term productions, whether it's theater, film, or studio productions, event production, they often have long-term consequences that you don't really think about unless you're in that business and know the sort of behind-the-scenes part. So, I love movies and have always been, a bit of a movie freak, but until I started working in the business, I wouldn't have known the sheer amount of waste that is in that industry. The whole buildings will be, constructed and for just a few shots, and then at the end of the shot, all of it taken down. All of those building materials, all of the, the sets, the props, the furniture used to all get thrown away. This was the train car from White Christmas at the Walnut Street Theater. I guess 15 years ago now, and it's a good visual cue. It now houses all kinds of unique. So it's a great space in our shop for people to find unique finds. But we wanted to keep the scenery itself because again, I think just to give people the visual, the physical, visceral understanding of just the sheer amount of the stuff that actually gets thrown into a dumpster and the scale of it. This was just one scene in one play many, many years ago. So the sets guide was really trying to make a couple of very important points. The first was that all of this reuse and recycling that happened then, and I think to some extent still does, is crew level. It happens from the crew. It's the folks who are on the ground making the shots, and what really needs to happen is there has to be more of a top-down mandate and a budgetary considerations, again, from the very beginning, to think about how the entirety of the production from the beginning of sourcing the materials to the end when they're unfortunately disposing of the materials, how to save more of them, how to design in a more circular way. That's why I quit the business. So, I was in it for 10 years and just year after year of just watching those dumpsters roll on out, and I just thought, this is not a problem I want to continue to be part of, but it's a tough one. But again, the majority of the guide was also about local resources, about instead of dumpstering them, where can this material be recycled? Where can it be donated? Where are the local places that exist that you can take those things at the end of the production and get them back into the community at low cost instead of just into 40-yard dumpsters? And then after that, after writing the guide, I realized there really was not a lot of infrastructure for the stuff that I was recommending that folks do. This was quite a long time ago. Also, I lived in San Francisco for a while. I'm from here, but I moved to the Bay Area for several years, and there's a wonderful place there called Scrap. And as an artist, I used to shop there all the time with my friends, and that's where we sourced all of our material. So when I moved back to Philadelphia, I said, I wish that there was a Scrap here. So as I was a film and theater scenic, it took 10 years, but after 10 years, I thought, well, why don't I just start one? So that's really the impetus for the place. Yeah, I mean, we started in the Philadelphia Navy Yard. We started in just a rented 500 square feet with no electricity, no running water, no lights, nothing, leaky roof, and kind of went from there to a basement area in Port Richmond, to then like a much too small for us warehouse around the corner on 2nd and Cecil to now. That this is such a great and accessible location. It's so easy to get to. It's on a subway line, it's on a bus line, we have a big parking lot. So there's a lot was achieved when we found this space, which we all call the wheelhouse because of its history. It was a big giant railroad turntable. All the train tracks that were all along American got pulled and ripped up during the American Improvement Zone thing. It was just like a massive, huge turntable, and all the tracks came up into this parking lot outside. It's very cool. I think in the beginning we saved mainly lumber and set construction materials, 2x4s, sheet goods, because we were housed temporarily in the Navy Yard where things were filmed back then. And so when the sets came down, we didn't have an open to the public location yet. We were just forming. So we really sort of fell upon those sets like ants and tried to save as much of those materials as possible. And then gradually, as we grew and then got to open to the public warehouses, we get quite a bit of, apart from sort of the overlap with typical thrift stores, home goods and things like that, is the maker materials, is the art materials themselves, because there is no other place in Philadelphia that saves those. And that's our mission, to try to keep as much of that available to get back into the community instead of throwing them away. We actually say you never know what you find in the resource exchange. So as I said, we did get our start with film and theater sets. So along with things that you would find in a typical thrift store, there are also set materials, set props, all kinds of things that come from the latest production that was shot here in Philly to things that have been shot some time ago, along with maker materials. That is our focus, is to try to save the materials that you wouldn't find in a typical thrift store. Half-used tubes of paint that are still functional, bulk colored pencils and bulk markers and things like that come from all over the place. The last bits of paper in sketchbooks, things that still have a lot of life left in them, but for any number of reasons. There's studio cleanouts. People change the type of making that they do. There are all kinds of reasons why people end up having, resources in their homes that they want to make sure that someone uses them for artistic purposes. So we get a lot of that, and again, fabrics is something, maybe somebody used to quilt and doesn't quilt anymore, or we get a lot of designer remnants and things like the last 4 or 5 yards on a bolt. Fabric samples from design houses. So that's, it's a huge wealth of materials.
Are these local artists then?
Yes. Yeah. So this is the Recreate Gallery, and where we feature local artists who make things out of reclaimed materials and have sustainability as a key part of their creative process. So we have 4 seasonal shows a year that are group exhibitions. And as you can see from this one, the range is pretty broad, 2D, 3D, everything in between, all different mediums. And it's a great way for us to showcase what happens to the materials once they are sourced here and go to the studios and come back, and this is what they come back as. And we're constantly amazed by how beautiful what people make out of them. It's about making. That's really what most people come here for. A place like this, what often happens is donors and customers overlap, and then repeat donors and customers. It's kind of a natural progression. So a lot of the artists who show here are regulars, and then therefore a lot of the materials that are in their works are from the shop. Reuse in the river wards is big. It's kind of like the sort of, it's ground zero in Philadelphia for all things reuse. There's a lot of, there's architectural salvage here, there's us, there are several other thrift and reuse organizations, and then this building in particular is also filled with a ton of makers, and there's a lot of studio rental spaces. And yes, we have a lot of customers from within the building that come in and come and go and source their materials for their projects. Reuse retail is complicated, and all reuse retail organizations do things a little bit differently. What I think sets us apart in our process for intake and processing is that we keep everything local. So we screen the materials when they come in and really do the best we can to accept things that we truly think are going to be repurposed here in the Philadelphia region. There's no big dumpster out back. There's no bailing and shipping things overseas. There's no saving things for a while and then whatever doesn't sell gets trashed or sent to other distribution places. We kind of keep everything here. So so when folks come, we have if you have a bag, box, or bin, small amount, you can walk in our doors anytime that we're open, and we just greet you when you come in and take a look at what you have and make sure that it's the type of thing that we do accept. And then if you have large amounts, vans, truckloads, we do accept that amount as well, but then we ask that folks set an appointment so that we can have some time to take a look and see what you have. We're a small and mighty staff, so we do quite a bit with very, very small staff and very little funding. So so the big amounts are something that we also do, but we're not a national or global chain. So we do at the door and through our donation process take a look and see what you've got and try to make sure that we're doing best use and either taking it ourselves or trying to do the best to help you know where to take it. During the intake process, we do weigh the materials when they come in and then log them, and also log them by category so we can sort of keep track of the general gist of what the majority of it is. Although I will say that tonnage over the years we've learned is really not the best measure. It's the standard tool that most reduce, reuse, recycle businesses, that's kind of the gold standard is tonnage. But we've realized that it's really the weight of some paintbrushes or vintage photographs saved from some film set or there's just so much that we save that has true value that doesn't have a lot of weight. It's not the same as weighing cinder block. So we do keep the tonnage, but it's not what we focus on. What we instead have shifted to focus on is really enabled projects. Our staff is really not just ring folks up and off you go. We engage with folks and talk to them and are really interested in finding out what people are making with what they source here, and those projects are tracked as best as we can. So we have numbers at the end of the year, every year, annual reports where we say this many artists made studio art, this many local businesses source things, and do our best to track what happens from the stuff once it leaves the door. So. The important part about reuse in the larger scheme of things like climate change and trying to improve the local and global environment is there's a lot of embodied energy that is in these materials that is something that people don't often think in those terms, but it is much better for the environment to save materials and repurpose them than to have them. Recycling is great, but recycling is reprocessing the material again. It's often really what recycling is for a lot of materials is downcycling. It's taking a material and shredding it into bits and then just trying to have one more but usually inferior product made out of those materials, whereas repurposing keeps it in the local economy, it keeps it in the environment and used over and over again. So that's why we focus on reuse. And then for us, since the other part of our mission is not just reuse in the environment, but the arts, it's just a wonderful starting place. It's great to not have to start from a blank slate and from a just blank paper and starting from scratch. The histories behind the materials are often a great springboard for ideas and for folks to make things being inspired by what they find and what they discover here. Yeah, design constraints. It's really where we just are constantly inspired by what folks make from just what an idea that gets sparked by some material that they find in our random room, or going through the bulk drawers, or just seeing something they didn't anticipate that they were going to be making when they arrived, and then it's just it seeds a lot of projects locally. So yeah, if you were to clean out your art studio and think, I no longer use these materials and these are, half used or haven't really used them in a while, but they're still functional. If you throw them into the garbage, we often say here there is no away. So throwing them away, there really is no such thing. Away is landfill. And we, both here and then globally, like we just can't, it's not sustainable. That sort of, use, consume, throw away model is just not going to work any longer. Whereas if you actually take the time to save those tubes of paint and those paintbrushes and those things and bring them to a place like this, those types of materials in particular will definitely get reused. They're really, it's filling a huge need. So, we sell them at low cost. So for a lot of, struggling artists and young folks who are doing various kinds of creative projects, having a place to go to get those things is, and having affordable places to get a half-used tube of paint versus having to go to a brand new art store and buying new supplies is critical for a lot of projects to even happen. Philadelphia's had a lot of growth in sustainable and circular businesses in the last 15 years that we've been here, and so as we've grown, I've seen a lot of organizations like Circular Philadelphia pop up and try to address what the city needs. I think there are a lot of models out there of municipal involvement in reuse and recycling where the referral from the city is also in the direction of reuse over recycling in a lot of cases. I think that is something that is really helpful to be able to uplift the various reuse organizations. I think recycling is often the first thought, and reuse maybe is a little bit not so much, other than maybe clothing. I think clothing is sort of a given for a lot of folks. I think a lot of folks know about where to take their clothing. But beyond that, I think having the city support in how to uplift reuse organizations is something that I think would be great to see more of. And then I think the other thing is space. So that's always a challenge. This is technically our fourth location, and for different reasons along the way. I mean, we have definitely grown, but also we've lost every space that we've had for one reason or another. So it's very challenging for all reuse businesses to have the big warehouse, the big space. So I think, all city governments it would be great for them to be able to help with that aspect, for whether it's city property or initiatives to help with having space available to save these challenging materials. And then we have something called the Resource Philly tool, and we've been doing that for over 10 years, and that's a sort of a vetted resource and map to show folks in Philadelphia where to take things if we don't accept them, and also places to take them for recycling if they are end of life and not really reusable. I think the biggest holes in the referring, the referring that we do is textile recycling, big hole. And also, ironically, sort of one of the materials that we got our start doing, which is construction materials, is that we save standard sort of like usable 2x4s and half sheet goods and larger and things like that. But building material reuse is a much larger landscape, and so right now there are a few people that do different things. But none of us have the ability to have, to handle everything that would happen in a city this size. So that's a challenge, is trying to figure out whether the solution is to further support the folks like us who do that and enable us, or whether we need, a lumberyard size thing that is something that that could be managed to handle just those things that, are not architectural salvage, are not the maker materials that we say, but much bigger. So that's sometimes a challenge. There are places for a lot of those materials, but not all at once on a large scale, and that's sometimes a challenge. Yep, that's why this is the Resource Philly is like placed right near the this is why it's placed here, so we can be able to be like over there, like where to take your light bulbs. We don't take those, but this is where you take them.
Definitely use it to like scroll through.
Many people have.
This is so beautiful.
Yeah, it is. It's lo-fi cute, but yeah. Yep. So one of the biggest benefits of us and our partnership with Circular Philadelphia is what we're working on now, which is to take what we've been using for over a decade now, Resource Philly, which is our referral guide, and to take that tool and upgrade it to a digital interactive platform online that can be used throughout the city. So it's been invaluable to us to have this list, and our staff maintains it and researches it, but it's lo-fi. It's at the front of our shop. We have the list on our website, but for a long time I've been talking to Circular Philadelphia about how wonderful it would be to be able to have it truly an interactive online platform. So that's what we're working on together with them, and we're really excited about that. So this is what we're working on in Circular Philadelphia, is to make this digital. It's quite an endeavor. But to have it be like a searchable database and to have like the back end tech of it is something that takes money and effort and funding that we just don't have. So that's why it's great for us to be able to partner with them. Reuse and recycling materials is a very, very big challenge in a city of this size, and no one organization can do it all. So with the Resource Philly tool, we're trying to point folks in the direction of seeing this like consortium of folks that are all trying to come from different angles to solve this problem, and having the city's participation in it would, and increasing that is what we hope. We hope that there will be a back and forth there. Resource Philly is about being able to either search a specific material that you have, search for a specific material that you would like, but for in both directions to try to do things in a more circular fashion and to know what resources are available here in the Philadelphia region to do so. So where to take things that are reusable that you would like to donate, where to take things that are actually not reusable but are recyclable, and where to do that, how to source more sustainable products, and to have a comprehensive list that is easy and quick to go through. And so we've had all of that information compiled for some time, and this is about trying to make it as user-friendly and simple, and to be able to quickly do it on your phone, and to update and have it a more high-tech version of what we've been using lo-fi in the shop for a while now.
That was Karen Jared from the Resource Exchange, Philadelphia's Creative Reuse Center.
My name is Elaine Hardman. My husband and I live in Germantown. Shortly after coming to Philadelphia, we wandered into the Resource Exchange Center. And right away, it felt like my kind of place. The people are lovely, and they have all kinds of things that are ready to be seen and used in a new way. Well, I couldn't resist buying things there. They have a lot of odd little things, and I like odd little things. Also, in our small hometown, I held a lot of workshops in my home and in libraries or schools, and even in the back room of a hairdressing salon. We felt honored that the Resource Exchange was willing to put my work and my husband's work in their Recreate gallery. And so it was just great. But a greater benefit to me is that they've allowed me to host workshops where I've been able to make things with other people. It's exciting to watch someone learn to use their hands to build something in a new way. I think people need to make things, and I love being part of that with them. I speak to people about the Resource Exchange all the time. I tell them it's a fantastic place to get fabric, but whatever kind of maker they are, it's worth exploring the Resource Exchange because you just never know what's going to be there.
My name is Stephen Evans, and I live in South Philadelphia, Newbold area. I've been a participant with the Resource Exchange since fall of 2023, summer of 2023. Just out looking at what Fishtown had as far as thrift stores, etc. My friend found this amazing place, and it was the climax of our day to come visit that. When we got to Resource Exchange, it was just an instant affinity. The vibe in there was friendly, it was welcoming, it was not pretentious. As an artist using junk, I find that people's noses are turned up, and what I found here was just friendliness and just genuine authenticity, human being peoples. You know, that was just what was so great about them. When I first stepped into the Resource Exchange, Rebecca had pointed out to me the application for the fall 2023 show. I think that's the biggest benefit, is for me to finally put my work into a show in public after about 10 years of not. I've done several exhibitions there, and it's just been a great thing to be seen there. I've donated a piece there because my work is appreciated, seen, loved, and used. I've tried to introduce people to the Resource Exchange, and it's really hard to describe what it is, but I say it's a whole city block of creative ingenuity, cooperation, and amazingness. And it's the Resource Exchange itself is just a little corner of amazing in that entire building right there. You go from the wheel to computer printing. One end of the building, it's like evolution of art and human participation.
Circular Philadelphia and the Resource Exchange partnered to launch the Resource Philly online search engine in June of 2025. Go to resourcephilly.org for a one-stop shop to find where to donate, repair, and recycle your stuff, and where to buy, rent, or borrow secondhand, bulk, recycled, or sustainable goods in the Philly region.
So, Sam, reading anything good lately?
Yeah, actually, I've been reading this book called Playground by author Richard Powers that I actually bought at H&H Books last year to give to my brother-in-law for Christmas. And then when it was my birthday this year, I asked for that same book, and he gave me back the same book that I had just bought for him from H&H.
Well, that's great because there is a waste problem in the publishing industry. Millions of books are printed and discarded each year, and it's easy to forget the resources and energy that went into making them. But there's a different way to think about books. When we share them, just like the story you told, treasure them, pass them along through book clubs and communities, they become more than just objects. They become part of a story, part of a connection. That kind of intentionality about the journey a book takes to reach your hands is exactly what drives the circular economy. Today, we're talking with the team at The Head in the Hand, who are reimagining how books and objects can live longer, more meaningful lives.
My name is Linda Gallants, and I am the project director at The Head in the Hand. We started out as a small publisher in 2012. That sign over there is the first sign from our first location on Surviva Street when we were just a writer's workshop and small publisher. We started out with our first publication is called the Rust Belt Rising Almanac because it was we are part of the Rust Belt, and it's where creative enterprises have sort of taken the place of industrial enterprises, right? So how can art take the place of commerce and where that intersection is? We thought that was really interesting. So we had writers representing from like Ohio out to Philly, and we actually did a little tour. We brought the anthology along the Rust Belt. That has a special place in our heart. So we did themed almanacs at first, and then we moved into nonfiction, fiction, and then the pivot to chapbooks. Chapbooks are short books. It's like chapter, that's like the inspiration. There's shorter form works that can be any genre. Like I would say like 60 pages is the max, and then a novella would be a little bit longer, and then a novel. So there's like steps to get to the full length publication that we began with, but then pivoted to be in chapbooks because it just felt like more of a balance of where our capacities lay. We had distribution with small press distribution, which works with lots of indies, and unfortunately that was a big story recently. They shuttered. Lots of that stock had to go to the next biggest one, which is Consortium. This is getting in the weeds a little bit of the publishing industry. But people can return books, right? Like if they don't sell, they can go back to the publisher. So the sales are huge per individual. Like when you go out to a bookstore, that sale, that's important for the author to make that sale, because bookstores can buy in bulk and then they can return the overstock back to the publisher. And then those numbers will just suddenly shoot back up. Wait, we had 100 sold this month, but wait, no, they're coming back. So like that kind of fluidity, it doesn't really benefit the author, but when you buy a book in a bookstore, it benefits the author. That's a sale for that book. It's not going back to the publisher. I think that there is a lot of, you have to sort of be a bit of a fortune teller where you're saying, this is gonna hit, and you have to guesstimate how much to put out there, what the demand will be, how to market it. Like all of these factors have to break your way in order to have a successful experience with perhaps it's your debut book and you have a print run that's followed by another, and then the books are out there and it's thriving. And this is like the model that we're all going for. But then sometimes books just languish in a warehouse. Publishers sometimes make the decision to destroy, right, if they don't sell. One author was faced with a really hard decision, which is that their hardback wasn't selling, and they said, can you take some of these copies because they're just going to incinerate them. But I think the paper book, to me, it's an aesthetic experience. I mean, a lot of people interact with their phones to do all kinds of things, and I like the the quiet that takes hold when you're actually just only able to interact with this thing that is not connected to the internet. It's important. I mean, people get distracted. So I think that the book itself, this is so obvious, but you just find a way to, you go out of time or something. That's your time with this author, and no one can interrupt that except you. So when I'm on this, I feel like at any second someone's gonna text me, or, obviously there's settings for that, but I don't know. I think that the greatest possible connection you can have, this is biased, with a writer's work is by feeling the book in your hand and interacting with it that way. So we wanted to sort of pivot a bit away from the full-time publishing model. We wanted to sort of branch out into this. H&H Books is the brick and mortar presence of The Head in the Hand. And now we publish chapbooks and have this community-focused bookstore that we're sitting in, that we opened in 2019. It's a long and winding road to get in a nutshell, but that's where we're at now. It was always a gamble to start a bookstore. We thought, it would be an interesting way to have this new avenue for creative expression by hosting writers here to do talks and put books out that are, community focused. Like our Philadelphia local lit section is really important to us. So we thought, and then of course our own independent publications would also be in the bookstore. So we thought that sort of ecosystem would make sense in this neighborhood, which now has more bookstores, but at that time we thought, every neighbor could use more. for our curation for the bookstore at large, it's a big group effort. So we all have our sensibilities. I have my favorites. I love the local lit section. Like curating that is a big deal for us. And then we have community members suggest. We have our volunteers, Emerson, our manager, Shoshana, our assistant editor, Claire, our co-director. Everybody has their fingerprints all over here with their choices. And we happen to skew in a few different, like we love women in translation. We love queer writers. We have a great representation of, again, if you're either from Philly, published in Philly, or it's about the greater Philadelphia region, that goes on the local lit shelf. So yeah, some of our big identity points come through in those places. So we are a nonprofit, and we are open to the public as much as we can be, and the volunteers are a huge reason why we're able to have the hours we do, and they staff a lot on the weekends, which is our most critical time. So it's really, and most of them live in the neighborhood. So that volunteer program is incredibly important, and Emerson, our manager, is an incredible steward of that program. They organize the team, basically. The revenue stream that comes from the bookstore, that was a reason why we started to think about, let's do a bookstore, because it would help bring another revenue stream into the organization. And that coffer is filled up in order to support salary, stipends, honorariums. The programming is really important to us, and we do host workshops, not as many as we'd like. We have a writing group co-hosted with Valerio Coffee in the neighborhood. So we're so excited about that. 27 people have signed up. It seems like it's filling a need, that people want this, and we're happy to be a venue for that. And then we do free or low-cost author programming as much as possible. We average between 3 and 4 events a month. And we also have a regular family story time that happens in our kiddo section once a month, the last Sunday. And we have a local, she's a resident caregiver and is an educator who does musical story time now. So that's Miss AJ. And the stories and songs that come in, they have themes per month. I hope that continues, because yeah, that's another volunteer effort. Like Miss AJ comes in and volunteers her time to make that storytime programming happening, and we really appreciate it. Like community members just kind of show up and say, hey, I want to try this. And we're like, great, that's wonderful. Let's give you a space to do that in. So yeah, we just want to bring the community in as much as possible. Every day is different. I don't work every day. I have, 1 or 2 days a week. Emerson, our manager, has probably the most interaction with our community members. But yeah, there's just some people come in for direct orders. That's an important part of our revenue stream for us too, because we're so small, we can't we're not a Barnes & Noble, like we never will be. So, but we do have distributors. We can basically get any book through our distributor. We just have to put in the request for it. So folks can pick them up there at the direct order shelf. We do our best to explain to folks that you do have to wait a few more days. You're not going to get it the next day, but we can draw down from the same resources that Amazon is drawing from. The publishers that Amazon is getting stock from are the same publishers that we can access through our distribution network. So an indie bookstore can get the book you want, most likely. It just won't appear on your doorstep the next day. And it also, factor in the carbon footprint, that kind of speed and that kind of, that convenience comes with a price. We try to be sustainable in that way. We bulk buy once a week so that we experience the benefit of free shipping. And then we don't charge our customers shipping in order to do a direct order with us, and it's here to be picked up in the store. If you're willing to wait for our weekly order, if it's in stock with the distributor, then it will come. We get free shipping. You don't have to pay for that either. And we unbox a big box and put it out. So we try to make our purchases in bulk that way. There are one-offs. We can ship direct to home. If you need something, it can go right to your front door. But a lot of what we have in this neighborhood are porch pirates, right? So people sometimes would prefer to come to our store and pick up here. But if it's convenient for you, we can also ship directly to your house in a one-off situation. But we prefer to do things in bulk. It's more sustainable to do that. So you could think about like, do I need to read this in 24 hours, or can I wait 3 to 5 business days and support a local ecosystem rather than just like participating in a behemoth that will continue to negatively impact bookstores everywhere, and as long as it exists. And then we offer Book Bank, which I think the circularity part of it too, where people can donate their books and then shop the used inventory. So we are a mixed inventory of new and used books. We just thought you can refresh your shelves at home by bringing new inventory in, potentially from here, but then have more opportunities to explore new authors. There's all kinds of benefits from it. The life cycle can continue of a book, especially a hardback. And then the second was accessibility, because now the books are cheaper because they're discounted. So you just bring them in and a volunteer will count them, get your information, and then they go downstairs for evaluation. Staffers go through them, and if they're accepted, you get an email letting you know if you have credit. And then you just show that email when next time you come in, you say, "Hi, I have these credits." And the staffer allows you to purchase either, you get 1 credit per paperback, 2 credits for a hardback. So you can kind of like use it that way. And again, those are used when you're redeeming your credits. So that's basically it. It's an email verification system. The condition is important. You know, we don't accept books that have like mold on them. That's not gonna work out. And we also sort of, if you know the inventory here, you kind of get a sense of like, we're not really looking for the most mass market commercial books. Like you can find those pretty much anywhere. And when you walk into the bookstore, you want to feel like you're in a specific time and place. You're here in Philadelphia, in Fishtown. And we want people to feel that when they see what we have on our shelves. So yeah, we do tend to go for more experimental fiction, like we said, like queer authors, translated authors. And if you spend some time in the space, you can get a sense of what is more likely to get accepted and versus then handed over to Circle Thrift. So that's kind of how it's a book by book basis, and it's really subjective based on our tastes. Yeah. It's a great thing because like when you're like allocating resources, right, where you want to bring the person to the thing that actually does spark interest for them, like one person's favorite book is another person's, I'm going to recycle this book. So that is what we're trying to do in our own small way here with the book bank, where folks, we don't accept everything. And then when we don't accept books, we bring them to Circle Thrift. So Circle Thrift across the street is a big deal for us because we can just continue to like spread out the library of books that are coming in from our community members and make sure they just don't end up like, you know, rotting away in somebody's basement or, you know, like they could find a match. Like it's possible to have a second and a third and a fourth life with a book, especially if it's a hardback. And then, you know, like we have connections with H.A. Brown, which is the elementary school over on Sargent, and they have library volunteers. So we try to, you know, find ways to collaborate with them. There's lots of ways to get rid of books that you feel like are just taking up space in your place, and then they can find a new life somewhere else. 295 folks have done the program since we started it. So we have 295 individuals in our database. And then in May, we accepted 135 books from whomever, like just that was the number of books that we got in from our book bank donation. So that's kind of like, those are our average numbers. And yeah, I think we don't have a huge budget for marketing. So I think if we, you know, did more awareness raising about it, I think we could increase those numbers. You know, it makes logical sense. I feel like people who come in and get to know us, they like the program, and then they tend to browse, and then that does impact sales eventually. I don't have like hard stats on that, but this is just anecdotal, and yeah, we've gotten positive feedback from the community members, so we will continue to do it for as long as people want it. I have a very like tactile, you know, like you have that tactile relationship with the book that you want to continue along with it. They're beloved objects, and that's why they have multiple lives, right? Like that's why the circularity idea has great amount of potential with books, because books just have this ability to sort of become part of our our world in a way that other, like, it's not as ephemeral. I think people can really think about where they are spending their time and money, and again, just like stop using Amazon for like easy first step. Just don't do it. Just don't do it. Like, just don't ever use it. You don't, just like, don't. I can't say it enough. Just try to do 3 other steps before going to that. If it's desperate, then, you know, you got it. But like, I would say start there. And I would say too that think about taking care of your books as you use them, like while you're interacting with them. Think about like they could have a second life, and so maybe like, sometimes you take a book to the beach and it gets ruined. I am sometimes guilty of this, but like maybe just have another sense of it passing on to someone as you're enjoying it. So that's 2 quick ones that I can come up with. But for the industry at large, I would say, I hope people just go to more independent bookstores and buy the books so that people don't return them as much. That's a big deal. Like, so think about that when you're in, you know, the market. If you have disposable income and you want to support an artist who's a writer, then think about going to a independent bookstore, because that's a great way to do it. It has so many ripple effects. Yeah. It does. It means a big deal. It means so much to the bottom line of the store that may be like teetering on opening or closing. Like, it really, like, the bottom line is, the margin is so narrow, and it is so difficult. So like any support that, if you have the ability to put disposable income somewhere, think about that for your local impact.
That was Linda Gallant from H&H Books. Their circular book bank is a great way to pass on some of those beloved books you have sitting on your shelf.
Hi, I'm Alex Wittchen. I live in Elkins Park, Pennsylvania. I've been a customer for about 1.5 years now, ever since I moved, and I donated around 100 books to the Head in the Hand. I was moving and I had more books than shelf space, as the case is for so many. So I brought about 100 to the book bank. And it really, it couldn't have been easier. They made the process simple and welcoming. I did end up browsing afterward, but I was sort of exhausted from the move. So picked up a few titles that felt like the right kind of replacements, much to my husband's chagrin. Really leaned into the stories that had already lived a little before coming to me. Shopping there, I think, feels like what a neighborhood bookstore should feel like. It's approachable, it's intentional, it is full of personality. It's the kind of place where you always find something that you didn't know you were looking for, and that's sort of built into the very nature of what the Head in the Hand is meant to recreate for you, right? It's a place where it feels good to spend your money because you know it's supporting something local and really meaningful. I love free libraries. I use them all the time. Elkins Park is positively littered with them in the best way. But this felt like a way to really contribute to a bigger ecosystem, which is something that is tremendously important to me. The book bank is obviously part of the local circular economy, which means it values reuse and local business. Again, having lived in Philadelphia for 17 years, being really passionate about seeing those local businesses thrive and making things more accessible in a responsible way for more individuals. I felt like my donation really became part of a cycle that supports a small bookstore and other readers and the community around. So it's not just giving something away, right? It's investing in something that matters. Why doesn't every city have this? It's part bookstore, it's part community exchange. It's a place where books keep moving, and it's also connecting people instead of collecting dust, right? You are living in the experience of reading a little bit. It's good for your shelves, it's good for your neighbors, it's good for Philly.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Circle Up, where we explored the world of resale. And special thanks to Linda Gallant from H&H Books. You can find out more about the store, events, and the book bank at theheadinthehand.com.
And thanks to Karen Jared from the Resource Exchange. If you want to find out more about the store, you can visit theresourceexchange.org. And to learn more about Resource Philly, the citywide searchable database for where to donate just about anything, go to resourcephilly.org.
We'll have all these resources and more in the show notes. And if you, like me, have a bunch of clothes to donate in the back of your closet, you may be interested in our next episode all about textiles. The Circle Up podcast is presented by Circular Philadelphia. It was produced by Meredith Nutting at Cool Goon Productions. This podcast was supported by a grant from Penn Treaty Special Services District. If you want to learn more about the circular economy, go to circularphiladelphia.org.